But I will say this, I think if fan voting is a big portion of how the contestants are ranked, I do think that fan bases like Luna, WJSN, and Kepler will have an advantage here.
I'm saying I don't wanna come down from your love. We'll get lost together like we fly. Don't ever let me come down from your love. From your love. From your love.
Hey everyone, it's Bree and welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about Queendom 2, specifically the Queendom 2 exclusive preview, aka episode 0. This episode kind of serves as a precursor to episode 1, which will premiere on the 31st. So in this episode, we got some background information on the show. We were introduced to all of the members, their thoughts going on to the show and being able to compete. I think it was a really good preview for this season, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys. So in this video, I will be summarizing what happened in this exclusive preview. I'll be telling you what I consider the highlights of the episode, and I'll give you my overall opinion of it and on the season going forward. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more Queendom content because I will be covering the entire season on this channel. I also encourage you to join my Discord server. We have about 1,700 members, and we actually have a very active thread for Queendom 2 if you want to join and discuss the show with my other server members. Also, if you're into Girls Planet 999 or Kingdom Legendary War and you haven't seen my video series on those two shows, you can check those out as well. So now let's get right into this episode. So the episode started by introducing Brave Girls first. We saw Brave Girls entering the stage. The stage was empty and they were the first group to take their place on set, and they were kind of looking around at the other seats where the other groups were going to sit, kind of trying to figure out what groups will be coming on stage and competing in this season based on the number of seats that they saw at each section of the stage. After this portion, we rewind to D15 or 15 days before the competition started, and we are introduced to VVs. In this section of the episode, we have Umji from VVs discussing the pressures of re-debuting as VVs since G-Friend has disbanded. They weren't really sure how they would be received, being that they were re-debuting with only 3 members of G-Friend. A lot of pressure comes with being a group for a pretty good amount of years and then disbanding suddenly. Like, I can only imagine what the members of VVs were going through and how anxious they probably felt before re-debuting with their title track Bop Bop and their EP or mini album. However, the members of VVs went on to touch on that after their first win with Bop Bop, they were kind of given this feeling of confidence and realized they can do this. They went through a really sudden, crazy disbandment, but there's still hope for them as VVs. Shinbi went on to touch on how the other contestants might perceive VVs competing on the show, being that they are a group with 3 members, which means they are a smaller group. You know, typically we see groups averaging from maybe 5 to 7 members, so they could potentially be at a disadvantage when it comes to that. And to close this segment with VVs, VV sees a bunch of notes left in a room for them by their staff, encouraging them and basically congratulating them on competing on Queendom. I feel like this segment of the episode really shows that competing on Queendom is a great opportunity for VVs as members of a disbanded group that re-debuted in a new group. So in this segment, we are introduced to Kepler. We see a montage of their participation in Girls Planet 999, and Yujin, the leader of Kepler and member of CLC, announces that they will be participating in Queendom 2. There are a few points that stuck out to me about this segment in particular. When Yujin revealed that the girls would be participating in Queendom 2, Bahia commented that Queendom aired when she was in middle school, so this kind of touches on the fact that there are a lot of really young members in Kepler that pretty much grew up watching this show and now they were competing, so I can only imagine how excited they were. I think the youngest member of Kepler is Yeso, who was 18. Yujin also commented that she wanted to start off the show with a performance that would tell everyone Kepler is good. You know, this is who we are as a group. Yes, we are a rookie group that was just put together by mnet, but you know, even though we're a rookie group, this is what we have to bring to the table. As you guys know, I'm pretty sure Kepler has a pretty big fan base, so even though they are a rookie group, I think they are a force to be reckoned with in this competition, and they're also very talented. Next, we move on to Luna. We see a montage of Luna. We are also showed some critical comments from netizens about the group having so many members, about their disbandment rumors due to some of the financial issues Blockberry Creative was having. and the girls reflecting on the fact that even though they were trying their hardest as a group, trying to succeed, there were a lot of rumors going on and people doubted whether they would be a group that would withstand the test of time and, wouldn't disband quickly. This frames Luna's participation in the show as a good chance to tell their own story and to show that despite the rumors, this is only the beginning for them. Chu specifically mentioned that 2022 will be Luna's year, and there was a really funny moment and the staff surprised them, letting them know that they would be participating in Queendom 2. And Heejin kind of had this outburst where she was just very serious and said, "I really want to do well." The other girls kind of laughed because she was so serious, so determined. Then we move on to WJSN, and here the members commented about how a lot of fans feel that their songs are very emotionally driven, and they feel that they're really the only ones that can pull off their songs because it's them and no one else can do it like they can. And I really liked their energy and confidence. They really seemed to understand who they are as a group, the type of songs that are really their element and what they have to bring to the table. And if you guys have seen my previous video on the opening show performances, you know that I'm not that familiar with WJSN, but I really like that overall magical, elegant vibe that they bring as a group, and I really think that they are one of the contestants that the other contestants should really watch out for in this season. In this portion of the episode, we are brought back to Brave Girls, and this shows us how, Brave Girls found out that they would be competing. There is a saying that Brave Girls is on the trend due to their 2017 hit Rollin' resurfacing in 2021 and going viral, and Yoojung commented on how she wants to prove that Brave Girls is more than just a group that's trending right now. They are more than just a trend. The girls were in the studio and a box was left on the table for them to open up, and turns out it was a letter from their CEO telling them that they would be participating in Queendom. Brave Girls were really excited, and in the letter their CEO specifically said, "Let's move from queens on the trends to queens." I really liked this quote because it touched back on what Yoojung commented on earlier in this segment, that Brave Girls want to prove that they're more than just a trend. They're here to stay and they want to leave a legacy behind them. At this point, everyone has been introduced except Hyolyn. We go back to the present. At this point, all of the girls are about to walk on stage to join Brave Girls. To introduce each competitor, their debut year is shown on the screen and everybody tries to guess who's going to walk out on stage based on that year. So the first date on the screen is 2016, and Brave Girls were kind of thinking like, who could that be? Because they also debuted in 2016. So they were trying to think back to what girl group debuted in 2016 and who could possibly be one of the competitors. WJSN walks out. One thing that I really liked, I think her name is Ekshi, she commented that she wanted to rip everything apart. Basically, she meant that she wanted to dominate the competition, to show everybody that, WJSN is a force to be reckoned with, people should watch out, and that they planned on taking the crown. The year 2018 pops up on screen and out walks Luna. Funny thing is, Ekshi from WJSN said that she actually wasn't happy to see Luna as competitors because she felt that WJSN and Luna have very similar colors, both have the word girls in their names as far as the Korean title of their groups, and they also both kind of have, I guess, this type of magical space girl vibe to them. So I think Ekshi was saying, being that they kind of have similar concepts, she wasn't happy that Luna was also competing because as a group she wanted WJSN to be differentiated from the other contestants. And at this point, WJSN is kind of talking amongst themselves. Someone says, who's going to intimidate them? And so one of the members, Yeonjung, turned to the members of Luna and said, "How is your opening performance going?" And this part was really awkward because no member of Luna wanted to speak up. Everybody was kind of silent and looking at each other. And Chu answered that they were making a good effort. Then WJSN asked them what song they were performing. They didn't really answer the question. And then they asked WJSN what song they were performing, turning it around on them. And it was like a really funny exchange. You could see that the groups were really trying to feel each other out. At this point, Luna announced that they were still the mnet in the room out of all of the groups, and that suddenly changed when the year 2022 popped up on the screen. Kepler is shown backstage. Dayeon is commenting that she was really nervous, and both Yeso and Dayeon were both worried if their Sunbays or their senior groups would even recognize them. They were really nervous about, going on stage and having everyone look at them and wondering, who is this group? I don't even know who they are, being that they just debuted. Bahie was also pretty worried. She was worried that people would ask, which group are they? So at this point, Kepler comes out on stage, they do their group introduction, and they're so starstruck by some of the other groups that they're seeing on stage, being that, they're a rookie group that probably look up to a lot of the groups in the competition. So they sit down and you can tell that they're very nervous, starstruck like I said, and Kim Lip from Luna breaks the ice and was like, hey, I loved Wa Da Da. And the members of Kepler were so happy, they stood up and bowed. They were so excited that, one of the senior groups recognized them and knew of their music. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really surprised that the other competitors would know about Kepler, being that they are all here to compete in an mnet show, and Kepler is a group that was put together by mnet, but that was just my impression on the situation. At this point, WJSN Dayoung asked who the maknae was in Kepler, and Yeso answered that she's the maknae and she's 18. This next part was funny because Brave Girls had a pretty hilarious exchange. Eunji said something like, wow, she's 12 years older than me. And then all the other members started doing the math, how much older they are than Yeso. And finally, Yoojung was like, I'm getting less confident. Like, everybody shut up. Let's stop talking about how much older we are than these other contestants. And then Yuna was like, okay, sorry, I'll drop it. So at this point, another date pops up on screen, 2022, and out comes Vivi's. Let me just say, they looked absolutely stunning. Like, whoever Vivi's stylist is needs to get a raise. Even one of the members of WJSN commented that they looked like goddesses, and they definitely did. To me, they looked like Greek goddesses in these white outfits with these long, flowing skirts, and it definitely reminded me of their G-Friend Apple era, which I love. Shinbi even commented that, we want to cut the morale of the contestants with our looks. We wanted to look our best to kind of intimidate everyone else, and I think they kind of did that. But yeah, give their stylist a raise, please. They looked amazing. So this next part was interesting because mnet was added again. There's an exchange where WJSN Yoram says something referring to Vivi's, like, oh, they're not our sunbaes because, Vivi's debuted in 2022. But Shinbi kind of clapped back about that because, as you know, G-Friend has been around for a while. They debuted in 2015, so technically, even though Vivi's debuted this year, Shinbi, Eunji, and Eunha have been in the industry for about 7 years at this point. So Shinbi clapped back and she was basically like, hey, actually we are your sunbaes because we didn't just debut. We've been in the industry for 8 years. So these two had a funny exchange. To me, it was obvious that Shinbi was joking around, but the way mnet edited it, you could tell they were trying to paint Shinbi as a mean girl. But to me, I wasn't falling for it. I'm sure that this wasn't the first interaction that Shinbi and Yoram had, and I really think that this was just dramatized for the show. Shinbi just seems like the type of person that's very blunt and straightforward with her words, and I think she also likes to crack jokes and tease, so I would encourage everyone watching to not take it out of context. I think these two were just joking. So next, the date 2010 pops up on screen, and none other than the queen Hyolyn walked out. At this point, everybody was starstruck. Everybody stood up to greet her because, as you guys know, she's the most senior contestant. She's been around since 2010, and she was a member of the girl group Sistar. But yeah, like I said, the girls were freaking out, and Hyolyn strutted out on stage like the queen she is. So then we see a little segment with Hyolyn. Hyolyn says that at first when she found out she was competing, she was like, oh really, I'm doing another survival show, just because she's participated in so many of them. But she also commented that she does find it fun and motivating, so she is excited to participate. At this point, one of the members of WJSN commented that a soloist is a soloist for a reason, and that Hyolyn is that talented, and that's why she's a soloist, because she can hold her own. She doesn't need a group to rely on. Her talent is just that strong. Hyolyn added that she felt nervous and pressured because she was the only soloist and she was competing with groups, so she was wondering how she would fit in this competition. So at this point, the queen, leader of SNSD, Taeyeon, came out on stage looking like a goddess in her white two-piece outfit, and everyone lost their shit again. Here we have a segment with the members answering the question of who their role model is in the industry, and everyone answered SNSD because that is SNSD's impact. They were pretty much the nation's girl group. And we're also introduced to the other host, Lee Young-jin, who I believe is a comedian and a singer. So at this point, the hosts give background on the show and discuss the live premiere, which will air on the 31st. They explain that whoever wins the show will win a global comeback that will be live. So this will obviously be great promotion for whoever wins. And here's some of the contestants comment that, a comeback show would be a great prize because this is not something that's common for girl groups. And I never really realized that now that I think about it, but we do not stand disparity in the K-pop industry. I don't know why it's uncommon for girl groups to have comeback shows. And at this point, things get a little serious, and the host explained the penalty for coming in last place. If any of the contestants come in 6th place twice in a row, they will be eliminated from Queendom 2. So this is very different from, for example, Kingdom Legendary War, where absolutely no one was eliminated. All of the groups stayed until the very end, and they were just ranked from 1st to 6th place. So this news scared everyone immediately, immediately all of the groups were like, we do not want to come in last place, we can't do it. They started thinking about, out of all of them, which of the contestants had the most hits, who had the most attention recently, who was known for having the best performances, etc. So you could see the gears in everyone's minds were turning. The host told all the contestants to pick a rival or someone who they want to pair up with to kind of compete against for the competition. They didn't really give that much insight on exactly what this means or what it'll mean for elimination and everything like this as far as picking a rival. I'm assuming it will be explained later, perhaps in the next episode or the official premiere episode 1. So at this point, we learned that Brave Girls picked Vivi's as their rival. Immediately, Shinbi was kind of wondering, why did they pick us? Do they think that we're an easy target? Is it because we have a comparable member size with Vivi's having 3 members and Brave Girls having 5 members? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out more later. And the rest of the rival pairs will be revealed later because this is where the episode ends. So as far as my final thoughts on this episode, like I mentioned before earlier in this video, I think that this exclusive episode was a great precursor to episode 1, which will be premiering next week. I think it was good to get some background information on all of the groups involved in case, as viewers were not familiar with any of them. We learned a little bit of each of their stories. We were able to see their reactions to finding out that they will compete on the show, and we also got a few interactions between the groups. I'm looking forward to seeing how the opening show performances fit in. I want to know if we will be voting for those opening shows, if that will be the first round. I want to know how the voting system will work. I have a lot of questions that I hope will be answered in episode 1. Specifically, I'm interested on how fan voting will work because I know a lot of the groups involved might be put at a disadvantage because they have a smaller fan base or even a fan base that's not as active as some of the newer groups that are participating. As far as my predictions for this season of Queendom 2, I know it's really early to make predictions being that we haven't even seen episode 1 yet. But I will say this, I think if fan voting is a big portion of how the contestants are ranked, I do think that fan bases like Luna, WJSN, and Kepler will have an advantage here. I'm also curious to see how Hyolyn will fit in, being that she's the only soloist, but to me, for a soloist to go against groups isn't really fair, so I'm looking forward to that. But I will say this, based on the opening show performances that we've seen so far, my prediction is that Kepler, Luna, or WJSN will come out on top. But like I said, it's early yet, that's just what I think now. Maybe things will change, but my bet is on one of the 3 Space Girl groups. But let me know in the comments, what did you think about the Queendom 2 exclusive preview or episode 0? Did you like the background information that we got? Who are you rooting for so far? I would love to hear that as well. What did you think about the interactions between the groups? What do you think about ranking last twice in the row resulting in an elimination? Do you have any predictions on what the voting will be like or who will take the crown? Comment your thoughts below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, make sure to thumbs it up and subscribe for more Queendom content, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!